Welcome back. Time for culture now, and it's fashion full swing here in Paris. Menswear shows for next fall, or autumn, if you're British like me, sorry, have just wrapped up. That was on Sunday. The Haute Couture show is still underway. Jessica Michault, the online style editor of the International Herald Tribune, is here, fresh off the catwalks-ish, I guess, or sort of off the side of the catwalks. Okay, probably a good view, I hope. What did you think? What were the highlights for us?
Well, the highlights for menswear we saw, which is not a surprise, were a great amount of outerwear for next fall and winter.
No surprise there.
No, absolutely.
Freezing weather.
But this time very long and lean looks, jackets coming all the way down to the ankle. The other quite interesting thing was we were seeing a lot of mixing of materials. For example, you would see a wool jacket that would be bonded to leather patches that would then grow back into a wool. So a lot of interesting textiles and mixture. But what I particularly liked out of Paris this week was the mise en scène, or the actual show production themselves. The menswear really has to compete with the more vivacious and exorbitant women's wear to make a great spectacle. So we were seeing some amazing shows. For example, Jean-Claude Gaultier brought out a boxing ring into the middle of his runway and had two female kickboxers duking it out while the men walked the catwalk, their faces bruised, black and blue, and dripping fake blood as they showed the collection. At Dries Van Noten, the designer decided to have each runway model carry a little boombox with them with the music, so the music would fade and come up as the models walk closer to you. Yves Saint Laurent had a partnership with the photographer Bruce Weber to create a beautiful video to accompany their show. And at John Galliano's menswear show, there was a great theme with Sherlock Holmes, which is really of the moment, with the movie coming out, worldwide opening of the very successful and award-winning movie with Robert Downey Jr. So there was great new ideas and new mixing of different events to make the menswear pop a little bit more. So that was nice to see.
Because they're upping the ante, presumably to compete, to put them on a par with the women's collections. But who's that for? Is it to sort of make men's fashion be taken seriously, or for the fashion pundits?
Well, men's fashion is definitely not as exciting as women's wear. It's hard to get, it's hard to generate as much press. So when you have a great spectacle, that really helps. And I think it's coming up on par with women's wear at this point. But I don't think it'll ever compete with what we see in the Haute Couture shows, that's for sure. Haute Couture is really very different than menswear or women's wear. Just briefly, women's wear is off-the-rack clothing from designers that can cost a couple of $1,000s, whereas Haute Couture is made-to-measure, one-of-a-kind outfits modeled to the client and can cost tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars, so the price of a small car or maybe even a house mortgage.
Okay. I guess, well, maybe the men won't be buying the gowns. You never know, obviously, if Armani and Karl Lagerfeld have their way. But even if they're the ones who are trying to sort of blaze this trail on this one, I mean, they're no spring chickens themselves. I mean, they're both in their 70s, aren't they?
Yeah, they're both in their 70s. But what I really liked about both the Armani and the Chanel show was that they came up with a similar theme. Although I'm about to rush out and go see some more shows, it was nice to see that they had both chosen the heavens and the moons as inspiration, and each of them coming up with their own technique. At Chanel, it was all very flowing evening wear, amazing, silvery, sparkly outfits, and pastel colors, whereas at Armani, it was much more of a rigid look, a much more literal interpretation, where we saw clasps on dresses shaped in crescent moons, or even an actual dress that was in the shape of a full moon. So that was quite an interesting take to see them. They're both using the same theme, but in very different ways.
There's such establishments, there's such institutions. What's going to happen when they do retire?
Well, I don't think that Haute Couture will die with them. We still have some amazing designers like Galliano and Gaultier, and of course Riccardo Tisci at Givenchy. And we're also seeing some really nice up-and-coming designers like Anne Valeriache and Alexis Mabi, who are coming up. But I don't think that Haute Couture, that as we've seen it in the last few seasons or the last few years, will continue as it is. I think there's going to be a changing. There's already a talk about creating a week-long celebration of high luxury. The Chambre Syndicale of France, which governs all of the fashion shows, menswear, haute couture, and ready-to-wear, has already decided to add a day just dedicated to jewelry on Thursday of this week, day after tomorrow, where at the Place Vendôme, the doors will be thrown open to the press, and all of the major haute couture, haute jewelry houses will show all of their one-of-a-kind pieces to the press. So that's quite an exciting development.
So would you say then, actually, that the future of haute couture and French fashion actually is in danger at the moment?
Well, if you ask the editor-in-chief of American Vogue, Anna Wintour, it is, because she actually asked to meet the French Minister of Industry, Christin, Estrosi, and it caused quite a scandal this week because she wanted to tell him about how to save French fashion, and this coming from an American did not sit well with a lot of the French. So she had her opinions about how France could save their industry.
Okay, and how? What would, by reducing the 35 hours?
She's talked about things like getting away with the 35-hour work week because, quite frankly, running up to these shows, people are working twice that to prepare each collection. She said that France needed to come up with a really strong master's program that is equivalent to what we're seeing in London and New York, really great schools teaching great fashion. And she also thought that there should be more stimulus packages from the French government, making it easier for brands to launch their own line, to create French fashion companies and things like that. So lots of interesting ideas.
Okay, well, I guess it would be interesting to see if she's right on this one. Thank you very much for that, Jessica Michault, the International Herald Tribune's online style editor. Thanks for that, AK.